now.
We're on camera.
We're on camera, guys. Everybody here. You know what? I'm going to do my little applause here before I announce it. Here we go. Where is it? This is how tacky we are.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, did you know that applause is to repeatedly high-five oneself for another's accomplishments?
That brings me to who this gentleman is right here sitting beside me is Brett Tippie. Brett Tippie's from Kamploops. Oh, I got to look at that. Brett Tippie grew up in Kamploops. I grew up in Kamploops. Up until today was the first time that we met. Isn't that right?
This is the first time. Yeah.
So he went to...
I heard your name before.
Yeah, you heard my name. Well, we all hear each other's names. Interesting, Kamloops, British Columbia, population of about 80,000.
Yep.
The amount of achievers that came out of this town is absolutely incredible. Interesting enough, Brett is good friends with a really good friend of mine, guy by the name of, you just told me, Bird Dog.
Birdman Bob Sivertson.
Birdman
Bob.
Bob.
As a sieve.
It's known as a sieve. So Bob Sivertson, who was actually on one of the episodes of Liquidator, had a reputation for, smoking a little bit of the green stuff. A little bit too much. But one of the top athletes ever.
Yeah, one of the best natural athletes I've ever met. And I've been to 40 different countries and dealt with 2 different sports professionally. And the Civ is one of the best natural athletes I've ever seen. Coordination, timing.
Like
balance.
Spicoli, though, right? He's kind of like Spicoli.
Yeah, he's all super cash and he doesn't really appear to care, but he can score goals. He can jump off cliffs on his bike, on his board, on his skis, on the soccer field. Everything he does, he's good at.
We played soccer together. I came from Vancouver. Vancouver, of course, you got a natural talent here. And we came and we actually won the BC champions, and we went quite far. And Bob was one hell of an athlete then. And then he got into snowboarding, and he was skiing. I mean, that guy was fucking unbelievable. He took me skiing for the first time, and I tell you what, I was kind of like the kamikaze guy, but the guy had finesse. We used to smoke cigarettes back in the day. He'd smoke a little bit. I'd have a little rum and coke in my thing, and anyway, for years and we got to know each other through. And today, some mutual friends. I said, "You ever met Brett Tippie?" So I've heard of the guy. We got to meet. So here we are. So Brett Tippie, you grew up in Vancouver.
No, I was born in Vancouver, but I grew up in Kamloops.
Right.
Yeah, so I was born in Vancouver, lived various different places. Kindergarten in Calgary, grade 1 in Red Deer. I did 1 year living in Adams Lake.
Sioux Shop, almost
1 year in Houston, Texas.
What were you doing in Houston, Texas?
My dad was taking especially art school. My mom's a nurse, so I spent a year down there. I did grade 3, and I was a Canadian kid. And
I love Texas.
Yeah, Texas was really fun.
Do you know what? When you do a deal in the United States, and in my world, with Texas, although I never forget, I did a deal with a guy in Texas, and it's like, Jeff, my name's Gary, and I tell you what, deal is a deal with the Texas. Old school, kind of reminds me of Kamloops.
Handshake.
Like Kamloops.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, fully.
Yeah, like, so I went to...
You can always tell someone from Texas, but not much.
So then you went to Kamloops, went to Cam High, you played on the Kamloops Red Devils.
Yeah. I was... I went to George Slater, then went to John Peterson, and I first started with the John Peterson Adnax.
Yep.
And my dad was an English teacher, so I always got good grades in school. And I wouldn't say I was a nerd, but I was pretty well read. And then I went out and played football, and I realized I had a really hard head. And my nickname was Headbutt. And so,
really?
Yeah, I could go toe-to-toe with anybody. I just love the big guys.
Like Leroy Peters, remember that guy?
Peters. Oh, yeah, we go head-to-head all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, fuck, I mean, you got to be tough. Like, I mean, what is it? You just fucking go head, like...
They don't play that way anymore. Like, it's called spearing. And, with concussions and the awareness that people have found out about what it can do to you.
Like hockey.
Yeah. They sit you down and they make you rest now. But back then,
really?
Just
no, I know.
Crackheads. You see stars and you get back up and do it again. And
it's like hockey. Like,
it was insane.
Dave Babbitt's a good friend of mine. I mean, not that I'm against hockey now, but it's more of a finesse sport. Back in remember those days, Bobby Clark and these guys kicked the shit in, no teeth,
right?
And I mean that was hockey.
Oh yeah.
And
the Gordie Howe hat trick.
Yeah.
Right. Goal, assist, and a fight.
Yeah. Well, then Gretzky came in the picture, and he had all the enforcers around him.
Right.
But he was sort of Semenko, Dave Semenko. Yeah. So you played Kamloops Red Devils.
Did you hear they're trying to get a pro sports team going in Red Deer, Alberta? But they won't let them because they said Calgary would want one then too.
Did you rehearse that one or no? Did that just come to your head?
It's in the files.
It's in the files. Yeah, that's right.
And did you hear about that new drink?
No.
It's called the Ovechkin.
The Ovechkin.
Yeah, it's a White Russian on ice with no cup. But he actually won it now, so I got to change that joke. So with a new cup, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, a good friend of mine, Darryl Wolowski, is a player agent for a number of the Russian guys. He spends a lot of time in Russian recruiting guys. But,
right.
So you get to Kamloops, and we had Todd Mountain, which was a fucking great
mountain. Todd Mountain was awesome.
Well, I tell you, that's probably the most. I was not now, but was one of the most underrated mountains. I mean,
It still is. It
it's
still is.
yeah.
It's a hidden secret. And they have a bike park there in the summer where they run mountain bikes up the chairlifts.
Yeah.
It's the best in BC. But there's no one there. There's no lines. You get right on the chair, and they've got like one chair that's all gnarly tech trails. Been there for 20 years.
What about the Burfield? Still there? That chair?
The Burfield's still there.
That, remember me and Bob? We used to go there. We'd smoke our cigarettes, and then we put our tongue on that. And then her tongue would get stuck.
Ouch! Ouch!
Yeah,
it's colder. That's a cold chair.
Yeah. The head walls and the Challenger. And,
all the classics.
So then you got into snowboarding. So tell me, what was that all about?
So snowboarding for me began pretty early in the history of the sport. I handmade my own snowboard in my basement, and I didn't know how to curve the nose, so I made like wooden steps, and I sanded it out into like a filleted kind of like a homemade piece of wood. It was a piece of plywood basically. And I had strips of BMX tires for straps, for bindings, and an inner tubes over the heels holding me in. And it was a funny story because I was actually making this little prehistoric piece of wood. My dad comes down and he let me use his wood shop. And he's like, so what's your idea here? And I told him, and he goes, can I offer you some advice? And I'm like, sure, Dad. And he goes, you know what, down the consignment store, there's some monoski, buy it, take the bindings off. I saw these ski bindings called Spademan. They click in the middle, there's no toe and heel, and use really soft ski boots, and you'll have edges, you'll have camber, you'll have P-Tex in the bottom. You'll be years ahead of everyone. And I'm like, ha, 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 right, Dad, right. I know what I'm doing. It's got to be short and fat and wood, and it's all, I know what I'm doing, thanks. He's like, okay. 10 years later, I'm riding for Burton Snowboards, the biggest snowboard team in the world, Racing World Cup, and we're on prototype snowboards that were exactly what he was talking about.
Holy shit.
He was years ahead of his time.
So you're riding, so you just, all of a sudden, you were into snowboarding. Because that was a time when, what's his name, Ross
Gallagher, we were teammates.
You were teammates?
Yeah. And I just missed the Olympics when he went to Nagano and won the gold medal. And I missed it by 0.2 of a second. And it still drives me nuts. Top 4 Canadians get to go, and I was 4th in Canada for 3 years in a row. And then they changed the criteria at the last minute to time trials. See who was fast at the moment. And I got a 3rd and a 4th. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And then I got a 6th, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta nail this last run. And in my 4th and final run, I was like, doot, 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 doot. I pull out, I'm having a wicked run. Some kid cuts underneath the rope, and he's like cutting across the race course, and I'm like, move, move, move. And he moves, he gets out of the way in time, but he drops his aluminum pole right on my line, and I go over it with my metal edge, and it's like rock hard ice, and I dulled my edge, and I was like, heel turn, toe turn. Heel turn, toe turn, and I just kind of muscled it to the end, and I missed it by 0.2 of a second.
Holy shit.
Nobody saw it, I didn't get a rerun, and I missed the Olympics. So Ross won.
Yep.
Then he got his gold medal taken away because they found marijuana in his bloodstream.
Yep.
And it was banned on the World Cup but not in the Olympics, so after they figured that out, after 4 days, they gave his gold medal back.
Yeah.
And I made up a joke. How many Canadians does it take to win a gold medal? 1 1/8.
I remember that you know what that I remember, because I've never met him, and I remember this actually was like, it actually brought the recognition as far as I'm concerned to snowboarding. I've only tried it once and I didn't do very well, but and that was in a backyard and I hurt myself.
Right. How do you know when a Canadian does win a gold medal? They're the highest on the podium.
So anyway,
what's the difference between Ross Bagladi and Ben Johnson?
What?
One's a Jamaican trying to be Canadian, and one's a Canadian trying to be Jamaican. He's a buddy of mine.
No, it's all good. Yeah. I remember, and it was kind of like, because that was sort of the environment, right? Like, I mean, he, they said that it was in the background, someone was smoking.
Yeah, secondhand smoke.
Really, on the end of the day, fuck. I mean, it's really sad if you think about all these people in the United States and Canada that got arrested for, can't cross the border for a fucking joint. And waste of time.
Waste of money.
He
should have got 2 gold medals for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you could fucking ski, if you could snowboard, stone. Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean that's an achievement on its own.
There you go.
It's not like an performance-enhancing drug where you're taking, like steroids and you're actually, fighting or something and you get that extra, that marijuana. Come on. Yeah. It's like that rower, Silken Laman. I mean, she took a Contact C or something like that.
Contact C, right?
Contact C.
Yeah.
And it had it's like eating a poppy. I heard somewhere, I don't know if this is true or not, but poppies are opium.
Right.
But if you actually have that in your system, it could actually register as
an opium.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
So you were snowboard champion.
So I was Canadian champion in 2000 in border cross. I did my whole career through the 90s. I was riding for Burton Snowboards, the biggest biggest team in the world. And I was cracking the top 10 in the world. Against the big dogs, I got like a 4th and a 6th and a 7th and a 10th against the fastest guys. I got 11th in the World Championships twice. And then at the same time, for training, I was low budget, so I was like a tree planter, you know.
Kind of like this podcast. Look at this, right? We're sitting beside each other, got the applause going on. Well, that's actually that's another story.
That's another story.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go to South America or to New Zealand or to the glaciers in Europe and train like my competitors were. So I would go to the Barnetville gravel pits in Kamloops, and I would rip down the gravel pits on my snowboard.
Holy shit!
In the gravel, and if you crash, you were cut. You'd lose ounces of flesh. So you learn not to crash. And I actually got quite good at it, and I was carving turns, and I'd start jumping off cliffs. I'd jump from 10, 15-foot cliffs on my snowboard in the gravel.
Oh my god, that's like Rocky, the movie.
It's like
he's hitting at that fucking meat.
Totally.
Right? But this is Kamloops.
This is Kamloops.
I remember when I started boxing, my dad would buy me a boxing bag, so I fucking went and got a sandbag, and I'm cracking the sandbag.
Perfect, yeah.
Just in the garage,
right.
you know.
I couldn't afford weight, so I got buckets of water.
Right?
Yeah. And so I started taking my mountain bike down where we used to take our snowboards down the gravel pits. And then all of a sudden people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, try it, it's fun. And so all of a sudden we got asked to film some of this action, and we started doing these crazy things on our mountain bikes, me and my buddies, and we became the world's first professional freeride team. Me and 2 Kamloops guys were the first mountain bikers in the world to get paid not to race.
Holy
just to go jump off cliffs and ride.
Like that, what's that? We mentioned earlier that ski guy, that Warren Miller. Do you ever see those Warren Miller? Oh my god! But
yeah,
like Warren Miller.
But this was in the mountain bike world, so all of a sudden my gravel pit rocky training turned into mountain biking, and all of a sudden I became famous around the world and was.
You had something going on with Germany or something like this.
Yeah, we actually went to Germany a lot because they're the biggest bike market in Europe, and they would bring us over, and then we'd go ride with people and they'd take photographs of us. And our job was to get in magazines or in movies. There was no internet yet, and just be a bunch of yahoos.
So you basically, if I compare it to the movie Rocky, you were the guy in the background. It must be wild when you go to like a country like Switzerland or Germany, when with all this fucking money behind these guys, and they come in with all their, like you might have had a pair of unmatching shoes, you know what I mean? But like Eddie the Eagle, but yet you were talented, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I had that Kamloops spirit, you know, like everyone there is a little bit crazy in Kamloops. It's a really hardcore place, blue collar toughness, you know. A lot of people come from mining, ranching.
The sawmill, Warehouser,
forestry. Yeah. So it's like a real gritty place, and people are tough.
We were like, remember we used to have parties up in what's that place where Bachelor Heights?
Yeah.
You know, like I mean,
Hong Kong Beach in Valley View.
Right. It was crazy. Like I remember.
A lot of scrapping going on.
You know, I remember every weekend you'd have a fight with a guy, and the next weekend you'd see the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's okay, how's it going? But we used to go down to Thompson River, and that Thompson River goes pretty good, and just for something to do, we would swim across the fucking thing. Right? It was fucking
That's
cool.
tiring.
And it's tiring. And then you're on the other side, you got to swim back. And I mean, never drown. Right? We jump off that.
Still there.
Yeah, that's still there. The Red Bridge, we'd all jump off the. Like, this kind of shit doesn't happen. Like, if my parents knew, you know, I could have ended up down in.
You jump off the Red Bridge?
I jumped off the Red Bridge.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't give
It was a rite of passage.
It was nothing to do, you know. So
I wore shoes. Did you wear shoes?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, because it hurt your feet. This is like 60 feet. If you go off the cage, it's got to be 70, 75.
Yeah.
And by the time you hit the water, I don't know how fast you're going, but you got to be doing close to 100 miles an hour by the time you hit the water. 80 miles an hour maybe?
Yeah.
And, you know, the shoes save your feet a lot.
Oh, yeah, because if you go and point it, it's okay. But then you want to go down further. But I remember, you know, the Adams River.
And hopefully you don't hit a cow.
Oh,
it's floating down.
Yeah, right. Adams River, or a surgeon.
Yeah.
Adams River is Lance Henderson, Bob Sivertson, and me. We go float down the Adams River. And I said, I did it with I had a suit on, you know, and there was a gorge in the Adams River. It's fucking crazy. And Bob did it with Lance on a tube. I'm not doing it, and they did it. And
it's kind of crazy.
No, man, but that's Bob. I mean, he's just. How do you describe Bob Sivertson? You went to Australia. You said you ran into some guys that know Bob.
So I was actually in New Zealand snowboarding in 1991, and I did this cliff. It's about a 35-foot drop, firm snow. There's not much powder there because it's quite windy. There's no trees. It's very open, and with how close it is to the ocean, it's kind of moist, more of a moist snow. So we have this nice powder here. You can jump off anything. There, it's like firm snow. So I did this 35-footer, and then in the bar, people were going, "Hey, you did the bird down."
Like you just said that very, very nonchalantly. You just jump 35-footer. What is that? What do you mean 35? You jump 35 feet?
35 feet down.
35 feet down.
Yeah.
Like, you know, 35 feet is pretty fucking high.
It's pretty big. Yeah.
And you just, okay.
So
I like the way you know. So I'm in New Zealand. I went up to 35. Okay, so 35.
So I do this cliff, and then in the bar, they're like, hey, he did the Birdman Bob cliff. And they're like, no way. And they're like, right on. Where are you from? I'm like, BC. And they're like, from BC? Where from? I go, Kamloops. And they're like, you're from Kamloops. Do you know Birdman Bob? And I'm like, no. They go, you don't know Birdman Bob? You're from Kamloops? I'm like, no. He's a crazy skier. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Who is it? And they're like, the Civ, Bob Simonson. And I'm like, I know Bob. So Bob hit this 35-footer that I hit, but he hit it and he took a run at it from the chair and he hit it so fast, he went 70 feet down.
70 feet.
70 feet, and he landed and he splatted on the back of his head, got whiplash, but he became a legend, and they were all like, he was famous, Birdman Bob.
And that's a relationship that we have, like, is in common. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
And but this guy, like, I mean, as you said earlier, is one of these athletes that just could have, if he sort of take some time and just went with you.
Oh, he would have
been one of the top of.
So I knew he was special when we were tree planting, and right before we would jump in the bus to go to work and plant some trees, we'd have breakfast, and people would have a cup of coffee. We'd have a little game of hacky sack, get warmed and loosened up, you know. And he walked out of the tent one day, and we're in a circle, you know, hacking it up. And he's watching us with his cup of coffee, and he's got his big orange cork spiked boots on. And he leans into the circle, and he deftly, like, steals the hack with his foot, with these rubber work boots on. And he does, like, a slow, like, monologue, like a guitar solo with the hack, while he walks around the circle, everyone, like, keeping it, doing little slow rainbows up and over, shoulder stall, knee stall, boom, inside.
With the boots.
Like, with the rubber boots.
Yeah, that's fucking hard.
Keeping the hack alive, all by himself. And he's walking around, and he goes and makes fun of each person around the circle. Doesn't spill a drop of cup of coffee, just doing this little monologue.
Probably a cigarette this time.
Yeah, no, he didn't that day, but probably another time. But he's like, hey, you couldn't decide what color to wear today, so you thought you were all of them? What happened to you? Get hit by a ugly stick? Tippie, oh my God, I can't even look at you. And he made fun of everyone. And then he hits the hack back in the circle and walks away without even spilling a cup of coffee. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty coordinated.
Yeah.
The Civ.
Yeah, the Civ. Yeah, he has an interesting life. Yeah, he's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, I love the Civ.
It's funny how, you know, the talent that just you just evolve, right? And Kamloops. That's why
I mentioned Lance Henderson. He's a crazy dude too. He was in this new movie that just came out.
Not Lance Henderson.
Yeah, they showed a bunch of early Kamloops riders from an old VHS tape that Kelly Worthington. I
remember him. Yeah.
Bob Civ had a copy, but his mom taped over it. I had a copy, luckily, that I digitized. And it went into this movie that just came out called Nothing's for Free. It's called the 30-year history of freeride mountain biking. And it talks about Kamloops is the birthplace of extreme mountain biking.
Yeah, I bet.
And it shows Lance Henderson going down this chute called the Scar in Peterson Creek. Andrew Black was in there. Randy Walsh was in there. Randy Walsh.
Yeah.
He's got a backwards welder's cap on.
Yeah.
And he's riding this gnarly slope on this prehistoric bike. All those guys are on these prehistoric bikes, and they rode gnarly stuff. Nothing but respect for those guys.
No, it's funny. You know the what's that? Kettle Valley Railroad.
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine, Devlin Oniki, and I decided to do it. Right, and I had no shocks. The first mountain bike I ever bought, I paid $350 for a Norco.
Yeah.
Right, and we're like, okay, drop us off here. So they drop us off at up the Coquihalla Highway. I forgot the name. It's anyway. You drop off. One of my professors from college came and he's bringing big Costco things of food. Here we are on these shitty bikes, and we fucking do the whole Kettle Valley Railroad. And it was
a long way.
It was a long way. It was, and then the train ended, and we had to jump over fences, and oh yeah, man, it was. But only us. And I remember one time we stopped up at a campsite outside of Princeton, and this professor guy, or he's very anal. He's like, you know, and so it's fucking raining, and it's pissing rain. Anyway, so we get in our tent, we put a tarp over it, we're not leaving. The professor's outside, he's trying to read, it's soaking wet. I'm like, Dave, just get in the fucking tent, stay here. No. Anyway, we get up in the morning, and so I go first. There's this fucking dog, like a blue heeler or something, and this motherfucking dog does not like us. And he fucking comes right towards me like, Rawr! And I'm like, whoa, I kick him. And then I go, Dylan, there's a fucking dog. And Dylan comes right by me, Rawr! And then all of a sudden Dave comes, Rawr! Ah! I gotta go back, and the fucking dog ripped the shit out of him. And now we're in the middle of nowhere. Dave's like, I gotta get a tetanus shot. I'm like, holy shit, we're fucking riding. There's nowhere to go and take him to a hospital in Princeton, which there isn't much. but that's Kamloops.
Oh, yeah.
But he was on a Kamloops boat. We just did it, right? We had to carry this guy and we had to hold his mountain bike because it's only a 3% grade, so it's not that difficult.
Right.
But it's still
It's a long ways.
But and here we are, like no proper equipment, fucking wearing work gloves, and that kind of reminds me of how you started,
Right.
Like, is it?
Did you hear about the guy in Kamloops that was going out for a mountain bike ride with his buddy, and he's deep in the desert, and he's taking a piss, and a rattlesnake bit him right on the dick. And he's like, oh my God, what do I do to his friend? He goes, I don't know cell service. He goes, I had cell service a kilometer back. Hang on, I'll be right back. I'll go find 911. So he pedals back, and he calls 911, and he goes, my friend got bitten by a rattlesnake. What can I do? He goes, he can be saved. Just make a small incision with a little knife between the two tooth holes and suck the poison out.
Oh.
And he'll live? He's like, yes. And so he goes, okay, thanks. And he runs back to his friend and he goes, I got good news and bad news. And he goes, okay, well, what's the good news? The good news is you can be saved. Well, what's the bad news? The bad news is you're going to die.
And you see, those days we could make fun of shit like this and it'd be okay. But nowadays we got to be always careful.
Right. Oh my God.
No,
I'm proud to be from Kamloops. Kamloops
It's
it's a hardcore, gnarly place, but it's got amazing mountains. People, once you get to know them, are friendly and down to earth, authentic, legit. People there are straight up, and I dig that. And
I'm just looking at your white teeth.
Yeah.
How come your teeth are so fucking perfect?
Well, they're all fake. I knocked my teeth out mountain biking.
So is that the only energy that you ever broke any bones?
Never broken any bones, no. No, knock on wood.
That's about 100 grand worth of work.
Yeah. Oh, it was actually 100 grand, yeah. Yeah. I actually got sponsored by a cosmetic dental surgeon from Las Vegas who sent me a message on Instagram and said, I'd like to sponsor you. And I'm like, oh, cool. How does that work? He goes, I give you new teeth. You give me 2 posts on Instagram. Actually, I don't even care. I'm a big fan. I just want to help you out.
Really?
And I'm like, wow. My wife's like, okay, who the hell is this guy? She's going, you're going to wake up with stitches in his no liver or something?
No kidney.
Right? Yeah. Wake up in a tub of ice.
So
she Googles him and she's like, okay, he does the Nitro Circus motocross guys. He does Miss America. He does Miss Nevada. He's got 7 dentists working for him. They make their own ceramic teeth in house. Go, go, go. So I go down there and he gives me these new teeth. They're all ceramic. They're 5 times harder than real teeth. I could bite you this desk right now.
That's probably another event that you're probably get into, a natural athlete that you are. I'm feeling kind of shitty, I wasn't really that good at sports, but
So first thing I do is I get out and he shows me the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, wow, this is amazing. And then I go, I gotta tell a joke. And he's like, what? And I go, I gotta see if I can still tell a joke if I can talk properly. I go, why did the man fall in the well? He's like, I don't know. I go, he did not see that well. Yeah, they were. So I go, what does it cost a regular paying customer? He goes, you don't want to know. I go, I want to know. He goes, $85,000 US.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, thank you. This is the biggest sponsorship I've ever had.
So you, from Kamloops, you had sponsorships with Burton, this dentist, and you're actually making a living out of this?
I
don't mean to.
Yeah, no, it's actually really good. Like, I don't know how I'm doing it at 54 years old. I have a long history in the sport. I have had trying to transition from just being a rider. I do some announcing for live events. I do some web.
You're quite the legend in this whole mountain biking thing.
I'm an old schooler for sure.
You ever go down Whistler? Ever do that?
Yeah. They sponsor me. They give me a free bike park pass, and myself and a few of our Kamloops buddies have done some first ascents there.
Wow. Yeah.
The kids still do and put in the movies.
And your daughter's in a movie.
My daughter is in this movie called Nothing's for Free, done by Freeride Entertainment, who have currently made the biggest mountain bike movie of all time, Where the Trail Ends.
Wow.
And they just made this new movie called Nothing's for Free, 30-year history of freeride mountain biking. And it talks about the old days, right up through our progression into being professionals, and then into the current guys. And then at the end of the movie, my daughter rides one of the lines that we rode in the original movie.
Wow. Super
steep, gnarly slopes. You know those slopes right by the Valley Skating Arena?
Yep.
She rode one of those on her bike at 13 years old.
Holy shit.
And it was so scary. I actually was trembling. I'm sitting there and thinking, if my wife could see what was happening right now, she would kill me. And I had her in a neck brace. I had her in a nice downhill helmet. She had knee pads, elbow pads. And it's so steep. If you go over the bars, you're going to go 30 feet down the hill. Wow. And it's not going to be pretty. And she did it. And then she went and did it again for a second angle. And she steps off the bike, super casual, looks at me and goes, 2 to make it true, Dad.
Oh my God.
And I'm like shaking. I actually started crying because I was so scared. I was more scared for her than I've ever been for myself doing it.
Do you ever get scared?
Yeah, I get scared, but I have something called mental override, and I just put a tunnel vision on, and I just visualize doing it perfectly over and over and over, and then I just do it.
Wow.
Before I have time to get scared. So I guess I do get scared, but I just kind of push it to the side and just just ultra focus on what you have to do, and then I just do the basic mechanics I need to do to live.
You know what's funny? It's funny you say that, because talking about Kamloops, not just Kamloops, but if you look at business, right? All the same. You know what I mean? In its own way, because, you know, when I first got into this business, it was like, I didn't think I could do it. Or not that I didn't think I could do it. I didn't know where I was going to be with it. But if I had to listen to what everybody says, I don't know, I'm just going to ask you. Like, there's this jump you did in New Zealand, right? Like, if you psych yourself out about it, you're not going to do it, right? Or you just don't listen to it.
It's all mental.
All mental. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, I never know what I'm going to buy. I just don't think. I just have a focus and just keep it going, you know. If we're,
one foot after another.
Exactly. You know, and I'm not maybe the 1%, like whatever, but people always go, you're lucky. You know, like if someone ever says
it's not luck. You didn't win the lottery.
That's it. Exactly my point. There is no luck. I mean, even to get to that level.
Your ship never comes in. You have to swim up to it.
Thank you. Same thing.
Yeah.
When someone says to me, I went to the university with this guy, and you know, he always worked for somebody, and that was his decision. But he goes, "You're lucky." I said, "How the fuck am I lucky? Tell me how I'm lucky." Well, I said, you know what? Well, my luck was all self-created. If I didn't take a chance of doing it, I wouldn't have got lucky, if you want to call it that, right? I mean,
that'd be good to be lucky.
That's right. You know, I mean, who would have known that here's this fucking kid from Kamloops buying and selling fucking dildos and whatever else he does. Next thing you know, gets a television show.
Right.
And you know what? And I looked at arts and entertainment back in the day, because I looked at it as drama club in high school, right? I never wanted to be part of drama club, but when I got into it, I became fixated with creating this fucking show,
right?
Which over the top crazy, you
right.
know. And I didn't care. I was living and breathing it to produce the best thing we could do under the small budget that they had.
And worked hard at it. It's amazing how many nights and days it takes.
Right?
To
Isn't it the same? Is it the same? Tell me.
It's the same, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And I actually had an epiphany when I was actually in grade 9. I gave up grade 9 rugby to go into a play, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Really?
Mainly because Celine Patience was in it, and I wanted to really get to know her better. And then she quit 2 weeks into the play, and so I'd already given up grade 9 rugby. So I was Snoopy, and I had to sing 2 songs in front of a packed auditorium at the Stage Door Theater. And
what was the song?
It's Supper Time. And so it's supper time, yay, it's supper time, the very best time of day. Anyway, so the countdown to go out there was the most scared I've ever been. And I've jumped off cliffs, I've crashed at 120 kilometers an hour, like I've done some gnarly stuff. But this was the most scared I've ever been. The countdown to go sing in front of, like, you know, the hot chicks, the smokers, the jocks, the teachers, and the 5, 4. And then, like, to walk out on stage and sing in grade 9.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, and I got tunnel vision. I got, like, the butterflies. I thought I was going to throw up. And I just put one foot after another, and I walked out there, and the lights were on me. And then I sang the song. And then, I'm not a great singer. I got a little bit of applause, whatever. And I walked off, and I was like,
your knees all shaky.
That wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad. I'm still alive.
Yeah.
It's no problem. It's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
I could do anything. It changed my life right there at that moment.
Wow.
And I just went, hey man, what's it good? Like public speaking? A lot of people are afraid of public speaking.
Well, it's funny. It's true. It's funny. Like even when I did the show, we wouldn't select characters, but you find a character and you could tell they're like you. Next thing you know, they're in front of the camera. You know and I didn't have the luxury of doing retakes. I don't have the luxury of finding some. When we fucking drove out to Nanaimo or Kamloops, wherever, India, it was there. It was a one shot. We had to do it. So it was funny because I never got nervous. I didn't care. And if I saw that it was sinking, I would come up with some crazy jokes to get the guy, or put a hat on. But I tell you something.
Keep it alive. Keep the show alive.
Keep it alive. I tell you something. Then I had to go act. Then I got called to do the show. It was called what's it called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was Rainn Wilson, some other guy. So I didn't know that we're the talent, right? And I got picked up in a special car. We got to this, and I'm playing an auctioneer, and I was so fucking nervous. Like I had 8 lines. I was so fucking nervous, and in front of everybody, and I didn't realize that I was actually acting. And there's Rainn Wilson. I'm doing this shit. This whole thing, so like a flea market going on. And anyway, we had to take a break, and there's all this food. Like they have food service and all this. And I was too nervous to eat, so I watched all Rainn Wilson, the other guy, they're eating, and I grabbed one carrot. And the lady didn't know that I was the talent. And she, what the fuck? You don't touch it with your bare. And holy fuck was I. Anyway, go do the scene, get it over with. And the show only did 1 season, but actually Rainn Wilson tweets, the funnest scene I ever did was with that auctioneer from Vancouver, Kamploops. You know?
Nice.
But you know what? I don't know. It's what you do. You enjoy doing it. You're successful in it. You take credit back to where it was. Just like like being from Kamloops. Remember the jocks. I guess you would be a jock, but you the guys with all the money. The parents stuck all the money into it, and you'd see these guys come up with all. And here's you making your own fucking snowboard.
Yeah, making it happen.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
just think of
whatever it takes.
Think. Like, and it's sad because I know a couple of kids here that are very famous actors. But their parents are part of members of Lionsgate Studios, and you can help. Could you imagine if you had that extra push?
Oh,
Jesus!
I think about that sometimes. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a nurse,
and that's all.
And they did what they could. They lent me the family car to go to these races, and I did whatever I could. Like I used to hand paint custom T-shirts.
Yeah.
I'd buy 100 blank T-shirts for $5 each, beefy tees, and I would paint them with whatever someone wanted, a hot rod. A rugby player, a skier, a snowboarder, a cat, and I would sell for $35. So I'd make $30.
Yep.
Take me a couple hours to paint, and I counted up all the receipts. I painted 1,750 individual custom T-shirts over the years, which was entry fee money and gas money to get to.
See, this is the shit. This is the shit, Brett. Sorry for interrupting. This is the shit that people like. Where's the luck in this?
There's no luck.
There is no luck.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you see it now, you see the young kids and. Like I don't know.
You make your own luck.
You make your own luck.
It's amazing how many nights and days it takes to become an overnight sensation.
That's right. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's good to see a guy like you. You got a good attitude. Like I mean, now, and it's sad because in some ways Canada. And I don't know much about the whole sporting thing, but. Like you got the Germans, they put millions behind it. They have, and the Americans for that matter. You know what I mean? Like when I see a Canadian
psychologists,
right,
trainers, and
like
people to tune your equipment, it's
like junior hockey back in the day when we were in Kamloops. And then the boys team goes to and they then they go and they play like that was hockey. Like a lot of these are like ex-farm kids that getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they get to this level and there is money in hockey obviously.
If you make it all the way.
Yeah. But and when you did snowboarding, I remember. I mean, I just got into skiing and I remember a few guys were on the slopes with snowboarders and eventually it became one of the top sports in the world actually. And I never want to go do it. I've been skiing a number of years, but it's just to see. This is what I like to see is fucking downright, dirt grit. It doesn't matter what it is. It's fucking buying and selling T-shirts, speakers, and wow, it's really great.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate for the opportunity.
And you're blessed, and you love it.
And you know what? I wouldn't say it's luck, but I was lucky too that you got me in the right place at the right time.
Maybe, but I don't think
Maybe.
so. No.
Yeah, no, actually, you know what? You make it happen. You make it happen.
If you didn't get out of bed that morning to go onto that mountain biking thing, and that some guy was there, right? Or if you didn't go.
I have a funny story where I was actually in Whistler, and Greg Stump, who made the big movies that took over from Warren Miller's The Cool Ski movies, I ran into him because Ace Mackay-Smith was the president of my high school and she was dating him. Mm. And so I see him at the bar in Whistler and he's like, hey, do you know anyone who can do a 360 on a mountain bike? And I'm like, yeah, I think my buddy Richie could do one. I seen him do one yesterday on a BMX. He could probably do it on a mountain bike. He said, okay, thanks. I was tree planting outside of Kamloops, about 45 k's in the woods. And I got the word that they were coming to Kamloops to film Richie Schley do a 360. And I'm like, he's a BMXer. I'm a mountain biker. I have to get to this shoot. But I had no car at the time. And I was actually in the woods with these two girls. And we were like, I was pretty sure I was going to have my first threesome. And we were like, they were making out with each other. I was taking turns making out with them. We were on mushrooms at the time. And it was all happening. And all of a sudden my buddy goes, Tippie, we're leaving in 10 minutes. If you want to ride to town, let's go. And I'm like, girls, I gotta go. And they're like, what? No, you can't go anywhere. We're gonna go back to the tent. And no, you can't go anywhere. And I'm like, I have to go. And they're like, why would you go anywhere? They're hot.
Oh God.
And I go,
you had to talk to little Tippie to get him
right.
Down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I said, I'm gonna try and be in a mountain bike movie. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I gotta go. Bye. I kiss them both goodbye. I jump in the vehicle. I get there the next day. Richie does a 360. And then they rode a bit of, trails and stuff. It was kind of like pretty average, right? And I go, okay. They're like, what do we do now? And I go, come with me. And I took them to the Valley View Skating Arena, and I started riding those steep slopes with Craig Olson.
And Craig Olson, oh my God.
He was really ahead of his time
Blast from past.
Yeah, totally riding gnarly stuff. And we did some gnarly lines that they couldn't believe. And they were like, filming it. And they went, okay, you're in the movie. And so by making that happen, by turning down that event with those girls.
Yeah, but you see,
I got there and that changed my whole life.
It goes to show you, this is what I'm trying to tell people, that just there. I mean, your opportunity cost was to have a threesome and of about 8 seconds of pleasure, or trade off your life. But this is what this
8
could
seconds
be.
happens better than 7 seconds.
7 seconds. Well, if you can, depending on how old you were, and being in the.
I asked my girlfriend at the time if she wanted a quickie or the regular 2 minutes.
No, but it doesn't.
It was a sacrifice.
It's a sacrifice. Yours is like all guys all bet story of top of the line, But no, it's true. I mean, a lot of people that work, they work 9 to 5, and they think, oh well, you're driving, doing this. Like, wait a minute. At 8 o'clock at night, I'm on the fucking phone. Sunday, I'm at work, and if someone doesn't want to clean the toilet, I got to do it. So I'll do it. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But it's personal sacrifice in a lot of ways. You want to. A lot of guys go on golf trips, go fishing, and all that stuff. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I think it's great. But you're not gonna, you have to sacrifice yourself to do it. Yeah. When I was in Kamploops, what I used to do, I worked. I remember I got my first job was at Wendy's. I was making $3.05 an hour. I was under the age, so $3.65. Then I went to go get a job at Pizza Hut for $4. Then I thought to myself, fuck this. I'm going to go out and chop firewood. So I got a chainsaw, got my driver's license at 16. Those days you didn't have to go out there, chop down some trees, put it on the back of the truck, and I'd knock on people's doors. And I'd say, you want to buy firewood? So I'd go, cut a cord, deliver it. Then sometimes I'm out to smaller places and people would just want little bundles. Those bundles you go to the gas station? Then $30 for a bundle, and that's all I did.
$4 an hour.
Yeah, it was way better. And I started selling firewood. And that goes back to the story with Bob Sivertson. Bob Sivertson's dad had a bunch of firewood. And one day I had sold a large lot of wood, and my driveway was full of firewood. It was gone. And I thought, fuck, I don't want to go to the fight in the middle of the night. I stole all of Mr. Siverson's firewood, chopped it up quickly, sold it, made my money. Bob's dad. Bob's dad had this. He never smiled. He had this big nose. He drank a lot in those days. And Jeff, did you steal my firewood? Yes, Mr. Sivertson, I did. But don't worry, I'm going to replace it. So I did. I replaced it. We used to smoke dope or smoke cigarettes and dope up in Bob's little tree fort in Kamloops, and. It's great to see a local legend excel as much as he did, Brett Tippie here, and great to talk to a guy that I literally have heard so much about.
It's cool to finally meet you. This is
it's pretty wild. And,
couple OG Kamloopsians.
OGs, yeah. Remember the parties at Buckles there?
Oh my God, Jimmy Leonard took me.
Leonard, yeah. I've never met Jimmy either. I've heard so much.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked about Jimmy Leonard because he would have parties on the G&M trailer park right down the river.
On the reserve.
And he's a native dude, big dude.
Yeah, I heard of him.
6'6", 300 pounds. But, it'd have the cowboys there, the natives, the jocks, the druggies, the hot chicks, the tart. Like, everybody would mix there.
Yeah.
And there was no messing around because you're at Jimmy's place.
Yeah.
And so everyone could mix freely and safely. And it was really cool.
It's funny. Bob just told me a story about Jimmy. What is he? 6'5" or something?
He's 6'5",
6'5", big, huge native
300 pounds.
And
massive.
About a month or 6 months ago, a year ago, our local prime minister comes in, and Jimmy's not a big fan of Trudeau. So they got all the security. All these people are having this meeting, and here comes Jimmy on his mountain bike, and the security go, no, you can't have. No, that's Jimmy. He's allowed in. So he gets to this thing, and Trudeau's now get up to talk. And every time Trudeau's talking, Jimmy would hit his drum. Boom! Right? So, hey, everybody! Boom! And then he wouldn't stop it. And no one would stop it, but he didn't. He was. And if you go on the news, that's Jimmy in the background doing this boom every time Trudeau talk. Love him. I love him. I'll shake his hand just for that. Of course, you're not into politics, are you?
No. I'm in my own little happy world, just like... I'm a hedonist. I'm just trying to get as much, shredding.
So you just do that's good.
I have my blinders on. I just do what I do. I don't watch TV. I'm like a workaholic because my job is playing. Yeah. Mountain biking, snowboarding, and
I want to know what it was like as a kid growing up. Like I had a stroller, and what do? Just put your kid on like a top end giant mountain bike or something like that? Or
I had my little girl riding at 3 years old. By 4, she was riding the North Shore, super rocky and rooty, in the rain at night. like she's been trained since she could walk, and she's super gnarly. She doesn't even know how good she is.
Wow.
And you know, she'd go to these first races as a young kid, and she'd beat all the boys, and all the boys would be crying because it got beat by this little girl. But they don't know that I've been ninja training her.
So that's an interesting fact. That's a whole new spectrum of what's happening. A girl actually beating a boy. So there's a whole talk show on how that's all happening. Of course, swimmers and all the rest of that shit. But it's interesting. I'm kidding. I'm not going there with you. But think about it.
Right.
Tell you what, guys, it's great having Brett here today. I don't know. Google him, and what's your Instagram?
At Brett Tippie. BRETT Tippie. TIPPIE.
Did you ever skateboard?
No, I wasn't tough enough to be a skateboarder, I don't think. I hit the concrete a few times when I tried it.
Yeah.
I tried dropping in the happy ramp up in Zahali.
Yeah.
And I slammed hard from like 12 feet up. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick to bikes.
What about surfing?
I've tried surfing, yeah. In Tofino. I've tried it in Hawaii.
That's fucking
California.
crazy. That gives you small man syndrome when you're in that water. It's cool,
sure.
right?
Yeah. I met Kelly Slater, and he knew who I was. I went to introduce myself.
Really?
And I go, hi. He goes, I knew you are, Tippie. How's it going? And I'm like, and then the funny thing is, I went to say, you know, I love the shit you do. And I go, I love your shit. And then I'm like, what am I saying? And then he goes, yeah, you too, man. Keep it up. Keep shredding.
Top surfer in the world.
Yeah, the best surfer in the world. And I'm like, and I walked away going, he knew who I was. I was
Isn't
so
that
cool.
That's
cool.
incredible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's Jason Dussault's another guy that came from Counts, got involved in public companies, created a line called Dussault Clothing. Top clothing. I mean, it's funny enough, I can't think of his real name, but he's from Kamploops. And here he is, next thing you know, he's on the Family Jewels. He's partners up with Gene Simmons, just from Kamploops.
Right.
And it's like we're like this town of underrated, but overrated, but not rated at all. You know, and it's cool to see somebody, you know, like just do well.
Right.
And I guess what I always like to see is it's no such thing as luck. And if you want to do something, you just keep going at it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm too late to get into this shit, but he followed his dream. He followed what he wanted to do, and look at this. It's incredible. $100,000 teeth. Guy's got a great smile. He's got some shitty jokes, but we're not going to tell him that. But
I can tell you a few more jokes, but you laugh.
I can't think of any that are clean.
I'm always trying to be a comedian, but they won't take me seriously.
I have a buddy of mine. He was on the show. His name's Jasper Dave. Jasper Dave's kind of like reminds me of Bob. And Jasper Dave stutters. His name is Dave. And Jasper Dave, when he drinks, he doesn't stutter. So anyway, Jasper Dave says, I wanted to become a comedian one time. And I said, oh yeah. So he's got this line where he gets on the phone on a 1-800 number. It's Dave. And it's like, anyway, I forgot all the joke was. That's how bad it is. But he was so funny that he made fun of himself stutter, right? But when you stutter, it doesn't actually come out. Now it just comes out, right? So anyway.
So this guy goes into the doctor and he says, Doc, I have this horrible stutter. I want to get rid of it. And this guy also had a 14-inch penis. And the doctor goes, I can help you out. And so he does a little bit of surgery. The guy comes out with anesthetic. And then he goes, Doctor, I can talk perfectly now. But he looked down and he had a 3-inch penis. And he's like, hey, what the hell's going on here? I'm not stuttering anymore, but I have a 3-inch penis. And the doctor said, don't worry about it.
That's a good one. All right, guys, thank you so much, and thank you, Brett, for coming in.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on, Jeff.
Yeah. Fuck, he's got a pretty solid grip. Holy shit.
Hey, everybody.
Man, my only grip's from this, but his is like this.
You can't knock masturbation. It's sick of someone you love.
That's right.
And don't wait too long, because procrastination is like masturbation.
That's
In
right.
the end, you're only screwing yourself.
That's it. Palmer sisters. There's one, there's the other one. Twins. I got twins.
Pamela Henderson.
Palmer Anderson. Great day, guys. Thank you so much.
How we going, everybody?
Take care.